Similarly, a parcel in the R1 zone, and
evaluation is kind of saying, okay, well, here's what we checklist, or just have a look at this criteria.
If it was built, if they weren't requesting a variance, they could on the site. So, but we're Sustainability Neighbourhood Action Plan. Since commercial use.
Quick background is the property regulations in terms of built form and the for future higher and best use. Sense that it be utilized for, to extend the temporary use permit once, because you can only extend to entertain any questions.
Custom indoor manufacturing and warehouse. The 5-year financial plan, bylaw number 3524-2021 for the year's 2020 year financial plan. Council is now requested to pass the first of 3 readings of the 5-year financial plan from 2021 to 2025. Amendment.
Or some capital things like that were not foreseen at the time the budget comes up. So we tried 69,000 and to 390 to look at replacing those parking meters down there. So I've sort of highlighted the changes, and really there's not a lot.
We don't want to move it first.
We haven't moved this yet.
What?
Have we moved this?
No, we haven't moved it yet.
No,
Do
we
you want,
haven't.
You want my question
For
before?
Chris? Yeah, you
Okay.
can go ahead, yeah.
Just in reading, just literacy question, reading the transfers from general reserves, why do those numbers not match up with the input of other reserves?
Why do the
Like the sources of funds that you've highlighted to each other?
yeah, you're right.
Why is that?
It should be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought there was some other move
Yeah.
in there that I couldn't.
It could be that I just highlighted one of these incorrectly, and I'm just going to see what.
See a 1-8 and an 8-1 in reverse.
It feels like there's a.
The 2022, right?
Well, both.
Yeah.
Both differ. So
Yeah.
one's more dramatic than the other.
Well, the.
And I wondered if it had to do with the 60 grand. Like, is it not a capital reserve? Did all of this didn't come out of all the same reserve?
Well, they should both be the general expenses and other reserves. I'm just trying to see if there's another one that changed here. It could be that I just didn't highlight one of those that had changed in the piece here. Yeah, well, that's a good pickup, though. Well, we can set this one aside and kind of go back and take a look at that.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think we'll have other opportunities to kind of meet up and put this one through.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is it?
Sorry, are we sending this back to staff?
We have to get an answer to this question, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that's what I would.
Time sensitive now?
Yeah. So
Well, I mean, I think it's a good point.
Is Colin going to be okay?
Yeah, I think we have opportunities to kind of go through this. So, we definitely want to get it right. So I'm happy to take this back.
Yeah, and it will take
Yeah.
2 meetings. So we also have some special budget meetings.
Yeah,
And
we're meeting
we have
again on, right.
December 4th. We don't have so we could have early January, as long as I think it is adopted before March, when the final.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we can do the
5
final one in January, for example. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Council, I believe what is going on here is although we have reserves being used for capital, because you notice the numbers all balance, we also at times use some of the reserves for operating expenses. So you'll notice that everything balances all the way through. So again, if you look at some of them, there may be years where we don't support any operating expenses with reserves, but there will be times that we do. And I think that that's what you're seeing there as far as the difference. There's not a large difference, and that's because there wouldn't be too many items that we would be using reserves to do something we were decided is a
Operating expense.
Operating expense versus the capital expense. So I don't know if that gives council comfort, but that would be on my thought process. That is why we are having a difference there.
Yeah.
Colin, could you just run that by us again? So we're
Well,
mud here, just a second.
yeah. So you'll notice there's two sections to there's three sections to the plan. And down the bottom, it does speak to capital. And the capital numbers match. But the use of reserve question is like, why is this different? And there will be times, as you notice, that balances the funding for the capital balances to the revenues and expenses balance. But there can be, when you go to the page up, which is sort of the operating expenses, there are going to be operating expenses in there. Without me being directly involved with this one, that will be funding something that has actually been placed as an operating expense, not a capital. So, for example, if we were using $60,000 towards an operating expense, then the reserve balance that we are using to bring in to fund it would be different than what would be noted on the capital side.
Councillor Page, you had a question.
Just for my own clarity, Colin, so we don't have a math problem in the Schedule A of the bylaw from your reading of it. These numbers are correct.
Yes, that's
the question.
There's
no errors, there's no missing numbers, there's no flipped digits.
No, the fact that it balances
Okay.
tells me that, again, there, and I think council is aware, yes, we have reserves, but we talk about reserves being available for repairs and maintenance and for capital. So there can be a situation where we would be using reserves to fund something that will be classified as an operating expense versus a capital expense.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to see it, I guess, but
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you. So if Colin is saying that there isn't actually an issue here, then should we move ahead just to voting on it?
Yeah, we should, yeah. Exactly.
And,
We have time to,
If you don't feel comfortable.
well, just a second. So if you give it 3 readings now, and when we bring it to the January meeting, regular meeting for adoption, that's when there can be an explanation.
so we finally
Visual.
pass and adopt.
Okay.
And then if there's any other questions or issues, we can go back. We can always rescind third reading if need be.
yeah, I'm okay with that. And I do feel like I'm closer to feeling comfortable anyway. I understand the operating, that's not something I thought of, that it would go to operating expenses, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, so, yeah, if I could say a couple of things too is, this made sense to me when I put it together, and absolutely, there's probably some details here of the ins and outs that, I could provide at the next meeting, but absolutely, there's situations where you'll be funding capital from reserves, sometimes there's grant funds, operating, things like that kind of pay for your capital, so it's not always a one-to-one where
Totally
things
fair.
come out of reserves, so,
Yep.
yeah.
Appreciate that, thanks.
Okay, so we're going to do 3 readings and then it'll come back for the final, right?
I'll move first and second.
Moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Page. And whereas the Council of the City of Nelson adopted the Bylaw 3524, being the City of Nelson's 5-year financial plan from 2021 to 2025, hereafter called the said bylaw. Whereas it is necessary to amend the said bylaw to provide adjusted revenues and expenditure. Therefore, the Council and the Corporation of the City of Nelson is opening in open meeting assemble enact as follows. Schedule A and said bylaw hereby rescinded in its entirety, and Schedule A attached hereto is submitted. This bylaw may be cited as the City of Nelson's 5-year financial plan 2021 to 2025. Amended bylaw number 3539/2021. The bylaw shall come into force and effect upon its adoption. First, so we're moving first and second and third reading tonight.
But
Okay, we
separately,
do them one at a time.
Yeah, 1 and
So-
2 together is what I've
Pardon?
moved.
I'm sorry?
I've moved 1 and 2 together.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank. And next is mover for second, Councillor Morrison,
Third.
Councillor Lochtenberg. All in favor? Carried. And third reading, mover, seconder. And
We
do
did
final
one and
reading?
We did 1 and 2 together, and then third as the second one.
Okay, this is second. This is the third here, okay. All in favor? Carried. And we'll do final adoption at the next meeting. Okay? Thanks very much, Chris. The Utilities Rates Bylaw. On September 27, 2021, at the October 18, 2021, Nelson Hydro presented to Council with regards to its 2022 budget and the corresponding need for them for a modest annual general rate increase. Council provided staff with the direction to move forward with implementing a 2.5% annual general rate increase for urban service area and applying it to the Utilities Commission, BCUC, for identical rate increase for the rural service area. And we have,
I'll
Councillor
move
Morrison?
the service bylaw rural rates for final adoption.
Seconded.
all in favor? Carried. And number 2,
And then I'll move hydro service bylaw urban rates be finally adopted.
second by Councillor Woodward. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Next is this Sidewalk Cafe fee relaxation. In light of the ongoing pandemic and the challenges associated with food and beverage industry, the Chamber of Commerce is requesting that Council consider allowing a temporary Sidewalk Cafe structure and expansion for the 2022 season. Council may also consider waiving the fees for the 2022 season to help ensure that all businesses continue to thrive from having a vibrant downtown. Staff is proposing amendment to the fees and charges bylaw to encourage additional outdoor seating in the downtown.
I'll move
And you
that.
see the report in front of council. Moved by Councillor Woodward and second by Councillor Charlwood that council adopt the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 3538 2021. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, one of these were taken off, right? And the next one is, but B stays on.
Yes.
B is a Trespass Act Authorization. In general, local governments can ban, suspend members of the public from entering into City Hall. The Trespass Act can then be used to enforce a ban or suspension. Council can authorize an individual to enforce their power under the Trespass Act. Staff are requesting that the city manager be authorized by council to enforce their powers under the Trespass Act. Moved by Councillor Morrison.
Actually, I have a question, but I'll move it.
Okay. Second by Councillor Renwick, that the council authorize the city manager to exercise council power under the Trespass Act with regards to the individual prohibited from entering upon City Hall.
So
Councillor Morrison.
my only question that I have is in regards to the fact that I would like to think that this should actually read that council authorizes the city manager or designate.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the key thing there is that currently, as we can see sitting here right now, we do not have a CAO, we do not have a CFO, and I would imagine that it would go to the corporate officer to be able to invoke the act, or potentially the police chief. But I mean, it's the fact that I think it needs to have or designate in there in case the city manager is not available. I don't know about the law on that.
You cannot re-delegate powers that have already been delegated. So I'm not sure that for example, the deputy CAO would automatically go to to that position if the CAO was absent.
Right.
Just like anything to do with a corporate officer would automatically go to the deputy. We don't need to.
So we have internal mechanisms that allow for
Yes.
that. Okay,
Yes.
so you've answered my question. Thank you.
Councillor Lochinvar.
I would propose an amendment to include the mayor, the city manager, or the mayor, and it, in part because the mayor is the chief executive officer of the corporation, and it strikes me as a little strange that if the city manager wasn't here, the mayor is here, that you would not have the power to do that.
But
As
the
the
mayor's
chief
the first.
executive, as the chief executive, you would think, you know, this is, ultimately, you're the authority in the building when you're in the building. So, is that?
So the reason that this sort of has evolved is because there was an incident at City Hall, and our city manager had to make a quick decision. And there really, in those kind of situations, there is generally not time to call the police who were involved. But for example, to call the mayor, and it has to be done. According to the Trespass Act, it has to be done in writing at that time,
Right.
or verbally at that time.
I hear you, and I wasn't saying, I was saying or the mayor, like include the mayor in that, in part on the principle that as the chief executive, it seems to be sort of undermining the chief executive's authority. If for example, the mayor was here, CAO wasn't, and you wanted to enforce something and you just couldn't, you'd have to call the CAO back when the mayor is just sitting right there. It just seems a little strange.
No, I don't read it that way.
You know, I would disagree with that.
I'd like to hear that. Yeah.
He is, just to be clear though, I just want to, on the principle that he is the mayor is the chief executive officer. And often I find that fact is lost, and we tend to elevate the CAO as somehow the senior authority when he is for most things, but for some things, that's not the case, according to my reading of the community charter anyways.
Yeah, and sorry if I may,
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say that I would disagree with that premise because the mayor, although he might be sitting here, is in the middle of an emergency. He is also not he doesn't make the call. So we have an emergency management process of which goes into effect, but it's not, the mayor isn't the lead. The mayor may be a spokesman in the process of that at some point, but we have that emergency manager deal with those things, and those are normally staff people. So in terms of evoking this, and that was what predicated my first question, is that when A is gone, who is B? But internally we know that. So if the emergency manager isn't there, there's there's probably the B person there, not the mayor. The mayor doesn't step in because person A isn't there.
If I may. I think a piece that is kind of missing there is it's not like we schedule the mayor for shifts. It's not part of day-to-day operations and all of this stuff, be it a chief of police, chief of fire, or the chief of the entire city organization. That's where that day-to-day execution and the deputy powers would flow. So I agree with the overall strategic functioning and the overall interactions with external organizations and all that stuff that has to happen for the city being a piece that the mayor fulfills and is leadership on. But this kind of day-to-day stuff it does seem appropriate at the city manager level. But if I'm got this wrong as a somewhat green but not so green counselor, then maybe we should hear from the mayor.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of middle ground there, to be honest with you. I understand what Councillor Lochinvar is saying. At the end of the day, the mayor is the go-to person, and even the state of emergency was declared or anything along those lines. So it's not, it's more or less, I mean, it wouldn't, to be honest with you, if you ran out of people, in this case, you probably could go to the mayor, or if it was something that, I could see this, I could actually see a situation where maybe you would sit down with the mayor and say, here, we got a problem here. And you talk through it and see what should we do at the end of the day. in this particular case, I think it's referring to City Hall only, right? And it's mainly for the protection of the staff in this building. So while I get what you're saying, Councillor Lockenberg, I think the right thing's being done here by leaving it in the hands of the delegated staff that fall into line when something like this happens. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Woodward, do you want to?
I don't know if the streaming is still working, but do you mind if I just read the background
Yeah.
on this particular subject? So the background here on our agenda is that there have been a small number of isolated incidents at City Hall where a member of the public harassed staff. As a result, these members of the public have been banned from City Hall and the police have been notified, or were notified. Legal counsel has advised staff that a staff member should be authorized by council in order to enforce the Trespass Act if such individuals return to City Hall. Staff have been advised that this would typically be the city manager. Accordingly, staff are requesting that council authorize the city manager to act on their behalf with regard to the powers under the Trespass Act. So, I just feel like this is really just about protecting staff, and that as Sarah said, it just kind of follows the what do you call that? The
Chain of command.
the chain of command. So
I know what you're saying.
If I may, I know this is it's an unusual circumstance because it doesn't have anything to do with the daily operations of the corporation and the mayor's job. We have a weak mayor system, granted, but that doesn't mean we have like a no power mayor system. The mayor does have authority, certainly a moral authority to represent the city, to speak on behalf of council. He is the chief executive, or she is the chief executive. And I think, and I've seen over time, a further and continual weakening of the mayor's position. And I think there are points, and this is just one more like data point, where we just kind of want to stop it and say, wait a sec, no, the mayor is more than symbolic. They do have a role as the chief executive that extends beyond chairing the meeting and speaking to the media. In cases of emergency, in the cases like this, it would just be, in my mind, so strange. And I can think of other circumstances that would be similar, where somebody comes into say, right into City Hall, and the CAO is gone, and the mayor's sitting there and can't exercise the authority in which he is the chief executive.
That's right.
It just seems strange. So I get that council, this is a small thing, but there is something to be said for establishing the lines in these unusual circumstances in which you're not creating new powers. The mayor is not creating a new power or acting arbitrarily. He's enforcing a staff request. It's like staff is asking, this is a problem, so going to somebody who has authority to execute that thing. It was so strange to me that the mayor wouldn't be able to do that.
But those powers flow into the deputy. If the manager's not there, then the deputy or their designate is then the one who then holds the power.
Yeah, but that chain can go all the way down when you've got the mayor as the chief executive. It goes all the way down to somebody at the front desk who's just newly.
No,
it doesn't.
you've got this wrong.
It is either the position, so CAO, CFO, or deputy. So Chris, when the CFO is away, the deputy CFO assumes all of the powers of the CFO.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go further than that.
So if those three people are gone, the mayor is in the office.
Sorry, I'm just using that as an example.
Sure.
So I think you have to look at it practically. Obviously, there would be a conversation between the city manager and the mayor if there was an incident and the mayor happened to be here. Even afterwards.
Which I was, by the way.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did it go? I mean, it was chaotic.
Yeah.
My speaker on. It was chaotic and it was quite frightening for many of the staff, particularly for the staff that were downstairs. Yeah. And it required a lot of quickly moving parts. The police were here.
Sure, yeah.
We were speaking with legal counsel and trying to work through this. And the recommendation was that the city manager speak with the individual, not the mayor. And again, it's protecting the mayor, but you still have the most senior person other than the mayor.
Can I ask on that point, why do you need to protect the mayor? It seems to me that's reversed. It's, you want to, if anything, protect the staff. As the chief executive, again, it seems to be a diminishing of his authority. He is the elected leader of the city. Why would you protect him as opposed to the other way around? Have the mayor...
Because we're not I am.
Yeah.
The city manager is, but the staff are the staff of the city manager. It is the city manager's responsibility. 180 people are his responsibility.
Right. So is the idea, just for clarification, that you don't want to create a situation in which staff goes past the CAO to the mayor, rather than it goes...
No, that's not part of this this request.
No,
That's not
but
been
the rationale there. So you're like you said, you are the staff of the CAO. The CAO is our staff, our only staff.
That's right.
Granted. You're the staff of the CAO. So if we amended this amendment to say the council authorized the city manager or the mayor to exercise council's power under the Trespass Act, then what you're saying is that if staff saw a problem, it doesn't make sense for staff to then go to the mayor to exercise council's power, because it's kind of like jumping around your boss, in other words, to go to the mayor. You understand what I mean? This is council's power. We're saying as a council to delegate the power to the city manager when we have the person we would normally have represent us, the mayor, right there.
But it's a decision of council.
Right.
It takes 7 people around this table to make that decision, not
Yeah.
one person. 7,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So the mayor is the spokesperson and the head of the organization,
Yeah.
but it still takes all of council to make a decision.
The mayor is also a councillor,
Yeah.
right?
He's also the chief executive.
He
Yeah.
is, or she is.
Nicole, go ahead.
Could we talk about what is our power in the Trespass Act that we are foregoing, that we're concerned about? Maybe that's a way to look at this?
Okay, sure. So that power, and I wish I had it in front of me and I don't, is simply to remove someone from a public building, City Hall.
Meaning our CAO would be that person
So for
in the
example,
absence of police or...
so the police were here and the police accompanied the CAO to speak with the individual who the CAO then asked to leave the premises and not come back without the city manager's permission under the Trespass Act. So, and that was sort of one of the, you can remove a person with proper authority from City Hall. It's not that easy to do. And you can advise them that they are not allowed back because this was the second time this person had come and done the same thing. And this time it was, please leave. I'm asking you to leave under the Trespass Act. And I'm letting you know that you may not come back into City Hall without permission from me specifically, which was the city manager.
Normally that would fall to council to have that conversation. That's the Trespass Act. That's the authority we're giving. So he acted out of...
Well, the
wasn't
mayor
within
was
his-
here. I'm not quite sure. All I know is I was the one on the phone with the lawyers and we were trying to make sure that everyone was safe and not feeling vulnerable or jeopardized in any way, and because it had already happened one time.
And we've left our city manager vulnerable,
Well,
liability-wise.
no, he wasn't. No, we're fine. I mean, this all came from, we have it in writing. It's all, we were on the phone with legal. However, they did recommend that this come to council, the request that the power be delegated to him. To, in the future, make a call on his own.
What's missing here is the probably the Trespass Act
Yeah,
itself, so that we
absolutely, yeah.
would have an opportunity to see that. I understand where Councillor Lockenberg's coming from. I'm one of you, maybe the mayor one day, and he's right about the erosion of the position of the mayor. And the mayor could actually ask that the city hall be locked down on an occasion if he felt there was a threat to the organization or the corporation of the city of Nelson. So it doesn't matter to me one way or the other if the mayor's name was on here, but I think Councillor Lockenberg raises a pretty good point, because, I would, unless I seen something totally obvious, would yield to, to staff to make the right call in a situation like that. It turns out that I was there that day and did ask Ginger to do a lockdown on the second floor here. Because I could see what was happening, but I'm not sure at this point that it needs to be included but it wouldn't be the end of the world if it was anyway, so it's the city manager would be the first person because he's responsible for the staff,
Yeah.
as it turns out, yeah.
I think that I just want to keep bringing this back to the safety of the staff.
Yeah.
That, the council can change with, the election cycles, right? So we can all be different people. But city staff, remain, and I think really we need to focus on whatever we can do to secure City Hall so that city staff can come and do their job and not feel threatened. And I feel like it's been clearly defined that if the city manager wasn't here, it would go down the chain and somebody would, in that chain, make the call. But it just feels like, I don't know, we're not city staff, right? And we aren't here all the time.
Yeah. But then I think the recommendation here is asking that council authorize the city manager to exercise council's powers.
Right, because we aren't here all the time.
If that wasn't in there, then, right? And that's what Councillor Lockenberg's saying. So council or the mayor is what he's asking for to be added in that. It probably could have been written without council powers in there, could it? Like, why are you asking for council powers? So you're taking the power of council and assigning it to the city manager. And I think that's what you're.
Yeah, I actually don't believe that it's excluding council from making a decision.
That's how I read it.
Exercise
That's
it.
how I read it. That's how I read it.
I think we're getting into legal area here that
Well, that's
none of
why
us
I was-
around here are
It's true.
experts on, and I think if we want the real answer to this, then maybe we should get legal to. I totally understand where this is coming from.
Yeah, me too.
If there's a problem downstairs and it's not a lockdown, there's a problem with the individual, you send a foot soldier, being Kevin, with the police. You don't send the president with the police. And that's where this is coming from, I assume. But I think we're getting into legal, we're assuming things and we shouldn't, because I'm assuming the legal wrote up this, correct? Gave you direction to, yeah. There's a reason for that.
Just for clarification, I didn't put this forward as an amendment, and I should have, so we could have had this discussion around that amendment. But the idea is, to be clear, it's neither the city manager probably or the mayor would go down and do the work. It's just to exercise council's power to authorize that person be removed. You do it from the comfort of your office. But the point is, who's exercising council's authority? It just seemed a little strange that we would arbitrarily, or not arbitrarily, but we would limit it that way. And to me, when I read this the first time, it read as just another further erosion of the powers of the mayor. And it just, something that I'm alarmed about. Because what it does, it seems to, it's empowering the CAO and continuing to empower the CAO at the expense or the cost of sort of the democratically elected leader.
I get you. I understand that. I just think that if we want the real answer to that, we have to go to the law.
Yeah, sure.
John, may I?
I'm fair, but it's fine.
Yeah, well, or read a copy of the Trespass Act would be the other option.
I agree with you, and I think we're on a philosophical different side of the values judgment here. But at the end of the day, it is the staff organization, of which we as council decide who leads the staff side of that organization, that is there day to day to make those decisions. So I don't see it as an erosion of that power, because that power in that chair is about this table, the strategic vision. But if that person is out directing individual public works employees, out doing, it's not the boss of a small organization. It's not a mom and pop entrepreneur. It is, strategic, it's external, it's liaisoning outside of the community, in the community, like you say, but like not making decisions like this on who can come and go from the building, which could become political. There are pieces of that in the political realm where you don't want that power seated there, and that's why you have that segregation in the first place, that we decide who will execute the policies and what the policies will be and what external organizations we need to bring to the table to bring that policy and that strategic vision to life, but not get into the day-to-day, on the spot, clearing the plots, making sure which streets are plowed. I think where you're at there is that's not the role of the mayor. It's not the president of America.
Yeah. And Mayor, if I may, just to respond to that, for clarification, I am very much not arguing that the mayor we move to a strong mayor system and the mayor takes sort of this more active role in the day-to-day operations. It's when executing council's special powers in special circumstances directed by staff to deal with the situation. Those kinds of things, this is one example. There are others in which you, without being on guard for that, you eventually, in my mind, get to the point where it's no longer a chief executive. He's exclusively the chair of this body and a mouthpiece for council, and that's it. And I don't think that's what was intended for an elected mayor. There was more than that. But anyways, it is philosophical. It's not the place to have it. I get it.
Can I just chime in a little bit? Council and mayor set policy.
Yeah.
So any decision would be made in accordance with that policy. It's not like, so you do have a bullying and a harassment policy, and your job is to protect staff always. That should be number one, right?
Sure.
So whatever decision is made would always be made with policy in mind, and those are yours.
Yeah, Sarah, thank you for that. My point is the community charter, the Local Government Act first, the community charter, written to create a local government system, deriving powers from the provincial government, is a work in progress. And it's clearly been evolving over the last 15 years. And some of that trajectory is about kind of convention as opposed to law. And my personal feeling is all I'm expressing here is that I prefer a system in which the mayor isn't completely a figurehead, but has an authority given that they were elected and that most people see the mayor. And the mayor speaking on behalf of council and often asked to be a part of our EOC and take on these roles.
So, but that is not what is on the floor.
This is about somebody in the building.
That is not about the question that is on the floor.
No, I realize that.
Okay.
I realize that. Okay.
So the motion on the floor, reads, and it's unfortunate we don't have a copy of the Trespass Act,
Read it?
so that we would
It's
know
easy to get.
what powers council
Find the
has. So
section.
we're asking the city manager to exercise council powers. In other words, we're delegating that,
Exercising, not
Right.
delegating.
sorry?
Well, you're not giving the powers and taking them away from yourselves you're allowing him into the fold to exercise the powers.
Yeah, I think what I'm asking here though, Councillor Page, is if the city manager is exercising council's powers, what are council's powers? Under the Trespass Act, that's what I'm
To
at.
remove somebody from a public building such as City Hall.
Which is, in the motion.
Power.
Like with regard to individuals prohibited from entering City Hall.
Yeah.
Those are,
They've already been prohibited.
yeah.
But that's so if I'm reading this right, my understanding, and I can be corrected here, council has that power. No, council has that power to, under the Trespass Act, an individual can be prohibited from entering council from City Hall. So what we're basically saying here tonight is, and I don't have a problem with this, don't get me wrong, just so we understand, we have that power to do that. So that power is here in this group, and we're now saying this person has that power now. So
No.
we're
Sorry, I
delegating
don't
that.
think that it's one or the other. Exercise, if you were delegating the authority, that's different than authorizing the city manager to exercise council's powers. You're giving, you can also, if you are here and you prefer to make that decision, I mean, that would be your prerogative. But I believe that what this resolution is getting at is that the city manager has the ability to make a decision when quick decisions need to be made. And it's about protecting staff and tenants in this building. That's all.
And we still have the power.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have a mover and a second of what's on the table?
Councillor Morrison and Councillor Renwick.
And, all right, so we're gonna call the question here, and if you don't mind, Sarah, you get a chance, maybe you can fire us out a
Oh, for
copy of
sure.
the act, please. Yeah. Okay, for no further questions, we okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you very much.
Your worship,
Oh, I forget he's there.
Live
It's like
from,
that, what was it,
Bedtime?
who's that
Still on
comedian
Egypt.
He's
used to
actually
have
laying
God
in
used to
bed.
talk to, Bill Cosby,
So-
was it?
should we give him permission to?
Is that you, Colin?
Mayor, it is. I just, I know you guys just had a difficult conversation there, but I just wanted to harken back to the previous 5-year financial plan. Reason why the numbers are out
Oh,
is, okay, just
Yep.
because I think it just puts it to bed, and I appreciate Councillor Charwood bringing it up. The difference on all years is $63,000. And the reason why is that in the capital side, we break out other reserves, and then you'll notice that up above the first line is parcel tax for 63,000.
yeah, I saw that. Yep.
So, okay, so that is the difference. So if you take that number plus the parcel tax, it will equal
Oh, thank you.
across all the years what is coming out of other reserves.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.
Hey guys, sorry,
Colin?
just wanted to
That's awesome. Thank you.
that clear. You guys needed some clarity after that last round.
Okay, thanks, Colin. Onward and upward, so we're on now to information items and correspondence, committees,
I'll move those.
letters. There's quite a list of letters there for anyone that went through them. Councillor Woodward,
I'll move the minutes.
minutes of all of them?
Yep.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Woodward, seconded by Councillor Renwick. Any questions or comments, or you wanted to throw out there, Councillor Page, anything on the housing committee that you wanted to
Nothing to pull
highlight?
out of those.
Pardon?
Nothing to pull out of those.
Nothing on the library? We're okay?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Agenda reports, financial department, accounts payable, and development services. Rusty Moose is still not on the books.
I have a question
Yeah,
about the procurement side of things.
Yep.
I had a member of the public inquiring about the procurement process on the bike racks and the bike cage. And my question was around the procurement policy, what amount do things start to kick in when we start to look for a more formal process? Like, is there a dollar figure where, for those kinds of, like, I think the bike cage is 20K, I think the bike racks out around town were 10, but where do we start to get really formal with our process? Chris, just to put you on the spot. I'm sorry. Could have given that to you earlier, but
Yeah, and forgive me, Councillor Page, I'm don't know if we have different thresholds. You know, when you get to certain dollar amounts, you need to get multiple quotes. At another dollar amount, you need to get, you know, go out for a formal RFP. And so, of course, your smaller purchases, you know, you don't need that kind of procedure. I believe when you get to that $50,000 level, and I'll check on that for you, but then that's when you would want to kind of, you know, look for kind of more of a formal process.
okay.
Yeah. So, but I can get you those actual thresholds.
Thresholds?
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be great. I'll
Yep.
communicate it back out.
Okay. Yep.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Letters.
I'll move.
Did
Do we do the reports? Did we?
we do that at the cow.
Oh.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We did a letter of support for the low-speed small electric vehicle.
Sorry?
We did a letter of support out for the low-speed neighborhood electric vehicle going through the nest. But I don't see that, that was in November.
Yes.
I don't see that here. Is that just an omission?
Did we?
Unintentional, because it didn't go through the regular channels, that's why. So, but I will ensure that it is in the next correspondence package.
What are the regular channels? How should it normally go?
Well,
Well,
it's your
that was a
policy.
last minute deal, right?
Yep, that's
Told me
right.
the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's why.
So but we don't have a policy.
Yes, we do have a correspondence, you do have a correspondence policy that we follow.
Fair enough. It's on me.
I'll send it out.
So anyways, I'll move this letter.
Okay, second it.
Right here.
Councillor Renwick, all in favor? Carried, good. No notice of motion, no late items, in-camera items to be released to the public. That's it?
Well,
Next,
We have to
sorry,
read
we
the-
have
we have to
the,
read the
The
in-camera
in-camera.
release because the public won't get
yeah,
to.
okay, I beg your pardon. So here we have released to the public that the council reappoint Laurie Langell, is that correct?
Yep.
Caroline, somebody help me with the last name.
Chesney.
McChesney.
McChesney, and Stacey, I can get this one. Stacey O'Brien to the Nelson Public Library Board for 2-year term, expiring on December 31st, 2023. And further, the council appoint Kathleen Curley to the Nelson Public Library Board for 2-year term, expiring on December 31st, 2023. And finally, that the above mentioned motion be released to the public as of tonight. All in
All right.
favor? Good, thank you very much. And now we have Councillor Renwick.
Adjournment.
Renwick
your
wants
guy.
to move adjournment, seconded by Councillor Woodward. All in favor? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Make it sound like we're not coming back
till next
before the
week.
holidays. That's not true, in case anybody's actually listening and paying attention.
So clarification,